Hey guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. Time to sit back and relax. Watch some court cases. Don't worry about the laundry. Don't worry about dinner. Kids can feed themselves. I know. I have three. They find it. If it's there, they find it. The food's there, they'll find it. Just concentrate on the court cases. I got a Karen that wins. I got an inmate that loses and leaves court. I got a landlord-tenant case that's like the judge is trying to keep courtroom decorum, and courtroom decorum is like a greased pig, and every time he almost gets his hands around it, these guys, these guys just they won't let him have it. They won't let him have decorum in the court. It's so funny. We got O'Donnell, I think from Ohio, doing his thing, telling it like it is. And we got a 19-year-old who, just doesn't get it. So let's just start with it, Karen. Can we get her out of the way? Here we go.
Good morning.
So I boosted this sound. It starts out like they're underwater. It gets better. But I did put closed caption on for this, just in case you couldn't hear it. I mean, you hear what you need to. It just sounds a little wonky. But I'm happy for that, because I haven't been able to get this court in weeks, because their sound system was so bad that there's no way I could have posted any of them. You guys just wouldn't have allowed it. At least now you can hear it. You can hear it.
Okay, good morning. You're on the record. This is Judge Bova. If I can have appearances of counsel, starting with the state.
Trustee Tyner for the state of Florida.
Alexander Montes for the Public Defender's Office.
Jeff Volker for the Public Defender's Office in Osceola County.
Okay, thank you. Are we ready to begin? Everyone?
Yes.
Okay. I've reviewed the probable cause affidavits. I'm going to go ahead and find probable cause on all of them. If there's any that you wish to challenge, please let me know when the case is called. And I'm going to appoint the public defender to every case, unless otherwise stated that they're represented by counsel. Okay, Nail Azam.
All right, this guy walking up. Look at him. All right, he has nothing to do with the Karen. I left him in because I want to talk about him a little later. But the first two cases are real quick. I left them in to show that it's just a normal court. It's just a normal everyday court before she comes. But watch this guy.
Okay, please state your name, sir.
Nael Azam.
Okay, you're here for resisting arrest without violence. I do find probable cause. Your bond will be set at $1,000. Okay, and your second case, bond will be set at $500.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, next case is Michaela Bailey. Please state your name, ma'am.
Michaela Bailey.
Okay, you're here in possession of cocaine. Your bond will be set at $2,500.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, she does qualify for direct pretrial release.
Okay, would you like to be on pretrial release? As opposed to bond?
So I would go with the first option.
State, do you know if she has any priors?
Your Honor, we likely she doesn't have too much if she's qualified for PTR, though. We would just ask for no drugs or alcohol and random UAs if she's on pretrial release.
Okay, does she want to do?
No prior arrest.
Does she want to do pretrial release?
Yes. release?
Yes, pre-trial release, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay. Very good, Miss. Ma'am, please comply with pretrial release. Stay in contact with your public defender and make sure you appear at your next court date. No drugs or alcohol while on release, okay?
Okay, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, next case is Christina Bard. State, can you address the probable cause for DUI in this case?
I have the DUI.
The problem is, I believe there was no traffic pattern.
The violation was Florida Statute 316-195. He didn't write out what it was, but he does cite the statute. Let me flip back through one more time.
I mean, he says that she was in actual physical control of the vehicle, but there's no facts to support that.
Yes, Your Honor, these are standard DUI charging affidavits. This is how it comes in. The statute he references that he observed her commit was.
Okay, I'm sorry, I looked at another page. It is further down in the probable cause affidavit. It says Officer Smith responded and she was in physical control of the motor vehicle. Okay, so I will go ahead and find probable cause for both counts. On the battery case, the bond will be set at $500. Do you live with this was your husband, are you able to maintain separate residences?
Give him a moment, sir. You need to place her, the pay on place.
No, I'm gonna stay with my husband.
She's on the beach, she has a lot of rain, you know, return water.
That can't happen, that's my husband.
She's not water.
Is this
It's just a glitch with their site. It passes, and then we watch a little bit again,
this was your
and then it's over.
husband, are you able to maintain separate residences?
Give him a moment, sir. You need to place her, the pay on place.
No, I'm gonna stay with my husband.
She's on the beach, she has a lot of rain, you know, return water.
That can't happen, that's my husband.
She's not water.
Is the state seeking no contact?
Yes, Your Honor, we haven't had any contact with the state has not had any contact with the victim. We request no contact, separate residences,
Possible.
one-time return, no weapons or firearms until this can be heard for further conditions of release with the victims.
Okay, for now, there will be no contact with the victim. That can be modified later on by the trial court.
Okay, but I'm asking, how's that gonna be possible when that's the only person I know on this planet that I can live with? I have no family, no friends, no nothing, so that is my spouse.
Ma'am, there'll be no contact with the victim. You can do a one-time return with law enforcement. As I said, that can be modified by the trial court. What were the other conditions, state? Maintain separate residences.
One-time return.
A one-time return with law enforcement. On the DUI, the bond will be set at $500.
Hey, Judge, you have to, it's just, that's maybe.
Next case, Yvonne Barzy.
Okay. Everything's fine. That went as planned. Everything's fine. So I ended it there, and I kept going about my day. But I kept watching the first initial appearances here. And then all of a sudden, 30 minutes later, they said, can we recall Christine Baker or whoever? I was like, what? Okay, and this happens.
State your name.
And from pretrial release, I believe that the named victim has contacted them and it's indicated that he wants no hostile contacts.
Your Honor, the state would request that the no contact order stay in place. I have not had any opportunity to speak with the victim. The state hasn't had contact, and he's not here to testify and place any of these statements on the record.
Officer Jenkins is here. She can speak to the she called while we're here.
Doesn't work for the state attorney's office and doesn't prosecute cases.
But,
So can you reach out to us?
if you'd like to speak on the record, she can. She's present.
No talking.
Officer Jenkins is here.
Your Honor, this is Assistant Supervisor Jenkins. I did talk to the husband. We didn't have his phone number, and he called in and he asked, can he have no hostile? I told him I would come and let the public defender know, and he can act.
What's her prior history like? Does she have any?
1 second.
She sure does.
Your Honor, she does have prior arrests.
Is there any, not inquire if there's any convictions?
She does have a conviction back in 2013.
Okay, I'm gonna order no hostile contact. In addition to that, there'll be no use of any alcohol.
No.
So to be clear, a hostile contact means even if it gets in a heated argument, you need to leave immediately and stay away from your husband. If it's a heated argument, that can qualify as hostile contact. You understand?
Yes.
And Your Honor, will you also be amending the no return order?
Correct. So you can
No,
continue
Judge.
as long as there's no hostile contact.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Wow. Wow. She won. She won. She's just gonna go back to the victim. Now, remember what I said? Remember that first guy? Okay. Let's just bring the first guy back for a second. Now,
Good morning.
here he comes.
Okay, good morning. We are on the record this and I'm going to appoint the public. Next case
There he
is
is.
Michaela Bailey.
When he bent down to the microphone and winced, I was like, okay, this guy, I don't believe him at all. I didn't feel any sympathy. I thought, something happened to him, but I thought like he was exaggerating. But it's not true. But imagine that he's her husband. Then I could see it. I didn't feel so bad for him. As soon as I imagined this poor man as her husband, I thought, oh, okay, that checks out. He is in pain. He's not faking it. Yeah, he's not her husband. He's not. Don't worry. But I didn't feel so bad. I felt more bad for him once I put it in that context. So she's heading back to the husband. Poor guy. I hope he's a Marine or something. I don't know. Her anger just smacked me in the face through my computer as soon as she walked up. Hey, welcome. All right, which one are you? Are you Hector? Is it Jillian? Alicia? I don't know which one you are, but hello. All right, let's go to one that's not so lucky. He doesn't make out as well with his judge.
We have someone else dealing with our jury trial, so I'm sorry I don't recognize you. But the gentleman or person sitting in the dark, could you turn a light on?
And he's
there
the
you go.
one.
It's much better. So the one who just told me, what is your name, sir?
Who, mine?
Yes, yours.
Toby Miller.
You are Toby.
Ms. Faulkner, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor. There's something you wanted to say?
I just wanted to know, to let you guys know, I have another charge out in Elkhart City on February 12th. Resisting law enforcement.
Okay, that doesn't really have the same effect on this case as it did for Mr. Knoll.
Okay.
So you've already admitted the violation and we're just here on the imposition of sanctions.
Right.
Okay.
At this point, I do want to swear you in, Mr. Miller, so please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties for perjury that the testimony you give in this case will be nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Faulkner?
Your Honor, we had continued this hearing to see if Mr. Miller was eligible for community corrections. And unfortunately, both MCC and ECCC have said that they are not willing to take Mr. Miller back. So unfortunately, I think that doesn't leave the court with very many options.
That's certainly the case. I mean, my thought is that at this point, unfortunately, the only thing that's appropriate is to have the time served at the Department of Correction. Do you have any other alternatives here?
And real quick, sorry, this website, when the court cases start in the WebEx, the sound is perfect, and as you go on through the cases, the sound gets more and more off and off and off. So if you get a late case in the docket, the sound doesn't match. And this case was late because Kathleen, she was really late. So we sat around and waited for her for like 2 hours, and then by that time the audio was just way off.
That would be viable?
Not that I'm aware of, but once again, I see that Mr. Miller has something to say.
Actually, I just did an evaluation for Life Treatment Center. Actually, I would respectfully like to ask Your Honor in the state that I could get help with my addiction and my treatment. That I was accepted to Life Treatment Center in South Bend. They just wanted contact information for my release date. Or could I do my time in the Elkhart County Jail? I'm just trying to get it put behind me, so I don't have to. You know what I mean? I need the structure and the stability. I think sending me to the Department of Corrections would just make it worse, Your Honor. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me hear from the state, and then we'll make some decisions here.
Judge, I'm always pro-treatment if we think that that's going to help Mr. Miller. I think that Ms. Faulkner might be able to weigh better in on this, whether she thinks that that's going to be helpful at this point, or if we just need to move on down the road and have Mr. Miller serve the balance of his sentence. I am willing to discuss either one of those.
How much time do you have left, Mr. Miller?
I have until March of 2025. If I'm not mistaken, I don't have a credit time memorandum.
All right. Here's what I'm going to do at this point. I'm going to order that you serve the balance of your sentences in these cases at the Indiana Department of Correction, but I'm going to recommend that you be allowed to participate in recovery while incarcerated. If you successfully complete recovery while incarcerated, I'll hang on to this case and I will consider a modification. And my inclination at that point would be to bring you back into the community and give you another chance. But I know that that's a good program. It should be readily available to you. And they've changed their policy. They used to have the policy that everybody started from the same point. And so the length of time it took to get through that program sometimes could be longer for people who had already initiated some treatment or had some treatment in the past. That policy has changed, so you have at least the potential of working through that more quickly. But at such point as you finish the program successfully, you want to file something with the court. We should get a report, but you want to make sure that we get that information by contacting us, and I'll look at it at that point.
Are you sending it directly to the recovery while incarcerated? Is that a direct commitment?
Yes, but ultimately,
Mr. Miller, it's a direct commitment to the Department of Corrections.
That's correct.
But when you get admitted into RWI, that's out of the judge's control. That will be up to the Department of Corrections.
Okay, and there's no way that I was waiting on to be approved by drug court can see me.
I'm not going to consider any other alternatives in the community at this point.
Okay, I appreciate it, Your Honor.
But although it's within the discretion of the Department of Correction,
I appreciate it.
To decide whether to give you recovery while incarcerated, it is pretty fair for them not to do that. So we'll keep track of that. And that will conclude our hearing for today. And I will order probation to conduct credit time calculation. Well, whether he's interested or not, we're going to conduct it, make sure he gets all of his credit time.
Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
He just left. He had enough. He didn't get what he wanted the way he wanted it. So I'm out. I think that was Indiana. I'm pretty sure that was Indiana. It was Indiana. Let's go. Oh, let's stay with Indiana, but a different judge. And this is the one where it's like a grease pig trying to keep courtroom decorum. And every time this judge gets this train back on track, it just reels off again.
What is your name? What is your name, sir?
My name is Joseph Dixon.
Okay, so you are the named defendant.
Yeah, I'm
and
the
then
named defendant, but my uncle.
well, one at a time. Hold on.
Sorry.
No, Ms. Pittman, is that correct?
Yes.
So this is cause number 50D03-2312EV97, and that's titled Susan Hain and Merle Hain v. Amber Pittman, Joseph Dixon, and Michael Clark. Now, the plaintiffs are here, as well as the defendants, Amber Pittman and Joseph Dixon. And Mr. Dixon was outlining that Mr. Clark is not planning on coming here.
He's losing his mind. Dementia.
And he's living in the property, but he's not able to make it here and or is not understanding the procedures.
Well, he'd want to understand it. I'm like power of attorney of everything.
Okay.
Doctors and everything.
So today's hearing is an immediate possession hearing. What that means is that the plaintiffs are asking to be put back in possession of the property. Now, there was a notice of claim filed by the plaintiffs that outlines the reasons why they're asking for that immediate possession. That notice of claim says, and I'm reading from it, we had a 2-year contract with Amber and Joseph that ended on November 1st, 2023. They were paying the rent through the Indiana Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which they are no longer eligible for. And for those reasons, they're asking for possession of the property in return. Could all of you please Could all of you please raise your right hand? Do each of you swear or affirm under the pains and penalties of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. I do.
Okay. I couldn't quite hear you, Mr.
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, as I mentioned, this hearing is for immediate possession. Now, I'm going to hear some information from the plaintiffs, and then I'll turn to the defendants in response. And then I'm going to make a determination of who should have possession of the property. So, Mr. Dixon, you were asking to say something there. Now's not your opportunity. I will turn to you and provide you that opportunity, but it's going to be after the plaintiffs have provided testimony about the nature of the lease, why they believe they're entitled to possession of the property, etc. Now, let's start first with who from the plaintiff is going to be giving me information to start.
I guess I'm the
You can't hear her right now. It's the daughter. She's
Correct.
way at the back of the courtroom.
If I understand the nature of things correctly, you folks, the Haynes, that is, are the owners of 14389 Maple Road, correct?
Correct.
And your daughter assists you in handling some affairs. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, what that means is that your daughter in these proceedings would be a witness. She's not a representative. She's not an attorney. She can't represent you personally. Now, if this was a business, she may be able to act as the representative of that business. But because you are both personal individual people, she cannot represent you at these proceedings. So she's a witness in this case.
Okay.
If I understand correctly, she has the most personal knowledge about the interaction between you and both Ms. Pittman, Mr. Dixon, and Mr. Clark. Is that correct?
She keeps her farm records, so that this here is involved in the farm.
Okay.
Don't worry, we will hear her.
Was there a written lease between you, the plaintiffs, and the defendants?
Yeah, I think we had a written one on this here government subsidy deal.
You don't need a lawyer to be heard today.
I've never been in, I'm sorry.
I understand, but you do have to be patient and wait your turn. It's best to take notes on what you are thinking as they're testifying so you can refresh your recollection. That's better than just raising your hand or continually interrupting, because that's going to slow things down.
Sorry.
And take notes if you have kids.
Did we present this to you?
Yes, go ahead. It appears that this is the same document that was filed with the court. Is that correct?
Right.
So let's back up and just cover some basics here. When did the defendants first rent the property on Maple Road?
Get that date with us. They got 2 or 3 months rent.
No, wait a minute.
With no rent by just fixing the house up to make it livable. So that the actual rent paid was about 2 or 3 months after they moved in.
When did they move in?
Back in 2021? 2021? I don't know.
If I heard you correctly, they moved in with the agreement that they do some work on the property to pay for certain months of rent. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, was that work ultimately completed?
Yeah.
It was livable, I guess you'd say. That's what they, basically the work that they was going to do to make it.
Okay. Now, after that work was done, what was the arrangement of paying monthly rent? What was the term of the lease, etc.?
It was a verbal. We decided to first. And we worked with them. But they might pay.
I promise you get more, you can hear it soon. Once the girl gets on the stand.
How much was the rent per month supposed to be?
$600. Until
When was that?
I think it was August of 20.
In quite low, the government support was for back payment because they said that would cover back payment. That's the reason why we went through the government part, so we could collect part of the back payment.
Well, I'm asking, when was the roof put on the house that triggered a higher monthly rent payment?
Okay, here. January 2023, raised to 700. We told them it was because we put a roof.
Okay, you've referenced this written agreement that has the signature of all the parties with the exclusion of Mr. Clark. When did this agreement occur? Meaning, when did you sign it? If you don't know the specific date, try to be as precise as you can with a month and a year.
November 1st of 2021.
That's when you believe that you signed the agreement, which is the date referenced in the agreement itself.
This lease holds a 2-year term. Yep. Correct.
I'm not trying to trip anybody up here, but these details are relevant, and these
A lot of
details
this was
matter,
verbal agreement with them.
which I follow. I follow. All right, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Either you're going to be a witness or you're not. You can't just be spouting off from the back. If you want to call her as a witness, I'll let you call her as a witness, but you have to tell me how you'd like to handle this. I'm trying to get the information from you, but it seems as though you're struggling to understand or know the details.
She kept all the,
She wrote
it up and kept all the information.
I mean, we can have her come up here as a witness.
She would be a witness, yes.
Okay, if you would.
Okay, come on up here. They're calling you as a witness. I'm going to have you have a seat on the witness stand over here.
Oh.
Before you have a seat there, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under the pains and penalties of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Have a seat there. Please state your full name
Karen Conklin,
and how you spell your last name.
Conklin.
Thank you. And what's your relationship with the plaintiffs?
That's my mother and my father.
Okay, and they've indicated a couple occasions here that you handled certain matters for them related to this lease.
Yes.
Describe to me your involvement in this lease arrangement. Clearly, you're not a party to the lease because they're the named individuals, but what was your involvement in this lease arrangement?
I just, I keep paperwork for them, help them understand what is going on, what the situation is. I help them talk to other representatives from other companies so that they understand the situation and what exactly is going on and what others are telling them.
So what was your involvement specifically with this lease agreement with Ms. Pittman and Mr. Dixon?
I just, when they were collecting rent and things like that, after it kind of started to get backed up or they were only getting partial payments and stuff, I was trying to help them understand what each of the payments was covered, if what was late or if they were caught up, things like that when they started getting assistance, trying to sort out what the assistance money was for and what it was going to.
So how did you know that rent was being paid, not being paid, and where that would be applied towards?
By what they were giving me or telling me. I got the information they were giving me. I didn't deal directly with them.
Okay, and was there any ledger that you kept or any?
I did not. I just helped her on her side of it.
Just went through receipts and wrote it on paper.
So what, I'm trying to understand her involvement here. At several times you've said basically she knows. Now she's saying that most of the information would have been what you told her, which
What
then
I gave.
Right. But that then gets back to the fact that you are the ones that have the personal knowledge here.
They directly accepted the money from them, I guess is the situation, but
What we did was the housing development, the housing
Yeah.
payment. We had them put our name on it, so when they got the money, we were given. We talked to the housing, and she worked with the housing people on the payments. And
Well, just understanding it's not an easy process. It's a very frustrating process. They didn't understand how to get a hold of people and who to talk to and things like that. So I helped them on that side of
sure we were
things.
covering
I
all
didn't
of
take
these.
any money or deal with any money or anything like that. Or deal with them personally. It was more the, I guess, official side of trying to get it sorted out. But we're not even asking for back money. There isn't any money owed.
We haven't even got to the point where we've discussed that yet because I've been going back and forth with this. Well, I don't know. She knows. You're saying they are the ones that have the records.
We have all the information here. All this went through it. She went through it. It's all three of us.
So
we can make it a little easier. We already got a place. We just want 2 weeks to get everything
I
out.
know that's
We have a place and everything.
And we'll have it out. We got a place.
Hold
ready.
on.
We're in the process of moving.
Yeah, and,
We just need
and
2
we're
more
not
weeks to
asking
get
for
the rest of
anything.
our stuff out.
Hold on.
That's it.
Sorry.
Sorry.
It's all right. I appreciate that.
That's the only reason
where-
we're here.
just
There's
trying
still
to-
that stuff in there we can't get out yet. You know,
Yeah.
we're moving it, but you can tell it's almost gone.
It came to me that you were contesting these matters, and now the plaintiff does have a right to agree or not agree. Now, that's not the plaintiff on the
I
witness
know.
stand.
Right.
We just ain't got to talk to him yet.
Right.
And-
Right. Now, what they're asking is for 2 weeks to be vacated from the property.
And we'll clean the house up and everything.
Yeah,
hold
because
on,
we
Mr.
didn't,
Dixon.
we couldn't even rent a place until the middle of January. We couldn't find a place. We didn't have.
I've been working my
So-
butt off, man, in the snow. Like you
Thank
go out
you.
there and look. I got roots in the yard. 'cause I got
Let me hear
stuff.
from the plaintiffs now. Let me hear from the plaintiffs.
Sorry.
They're asking for 2 additional weeks from today. Are you in agreement to give them that 2 additional weeks?
I guess if we have to, they can't be out by the end of the month.
I mean,
Like 1 day away.
we still have, yeah, that's like 2 days away and we still have a bunch of stuff there. We don't want to leave you guys with a mess, so.
Like
we
our
wanna
garage is
clean
third
up.
floor. I got lawnmowers.
We want to
and
clean up our
pools,
mess too.
and I got
Okay.
a truck sitting in the yard.
If it takes that, I guess.
I mean, it
I'll be
takes
honest
time
with
to
you.
find help to
I'm
get.
working, man. I'm trying.
That's their offer.
We'll go along with the 2 weeks. And the only reason why we're here is because I was given the statement it'll take a judge to get them out. Or we wouldn't even be here.
We were working on
Hold
getting
on.
them.
Yeah, we just didn't have the money.
Have the money
We've
yet.
been telling them we needed them to move. And they
Right.
kept saying, well, we need money to find a place. And so
Now,
they,
I'm hearing you're in agreement with the 2 weeks. Your daughter on the witness stand volunteered information about how you're not asking for anything, or she said, we're not asking for anything else. Now,
They
again,
actually
she's
don't.
not the plaintiff, so you don't have to go with what she said, but I'm trying to clarify so that the defendants understand what really is being asked here. Now, let's move past the 2 weeks. Are you asking for back due rent and physical damages to the property? And if the answer is yes, I'm going to schedule a further hearing in the future to determine damages. But I'm also just going off the understanding that your daughter said we're not asking for anything else.
No.
So hold on, let them answer. Because this is them that needs to answer at this point because they're the ones that own the property.
we were told that, well, they're actually, it's $1,600 behind on the rent because they've lived there for 2 months and part of a month that they, that's not what she said, but, we haven't gotten it and we're just ready to move on with the property.
So I guess we're in agreement as long as the house is livable when they move out.
'Cause
Well,
they-
2 weeks
we
from
haven't
now,
seen the
if
house.
everything.
What I'm
freezes
going to do
up.
then, what I'm going to do is I'm hearing some back and forth. and uncertainty on the condition of the property.
Yeah.
So I will just set the further hearing, which is called the damages hearing. Now that's going to be on March 18th. So that's plenty of time for everyone to both move out, but also then investigate if there's any damages that are owed. Now in that time frame, you can speak with your daughter about what she believes is owed in terms of back due rent, and you can also investigate the condition of the property after they vacate.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Dixon, you had volunteered the 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from today would be into February, specifically February 12th, 2024. That's exactly 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Is that
I
enough
might be out
time?
before then. I've been working, man. It's just, hey, I got mud out there this deep, and
The weather's been
the weather's been
horrible.
holding me out, and I've been working in the snow and the ice. I was moving stuff. You know,
Now,
I got one
understand if I set that date, that becomes an order of the court.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's no, well, I can't do that
No, I'll
because
be
of
out.
this. You have to be vacated.
Yeah, I got it almost all gone. I
Yeah.
just heavy stuff. I got
We're
a
already-
trailer in the yard that got stuck. I can't get it out.
Um,
Yes, Ms. Pittman.
We're already out pretty much. It's just our stuff is still there and we don't want to lose it. So,
So what I will do is set the immediate possession date for February 12th, 2024 at noon. That's the day and time, and that's the specific time that you need to be out at noon.
okay.
That's when the plaintiffs will be put back in possession of the property. Now, the damages hearing, which is going to be the hearing to determine the amount owed, the physical damage to the property, and that's when the condition of the property when you moved in as compared to the condition of the property when you moved out, or any
Well-
other damages that are allowed under the lease. Now, if there is some work that was completed during the tenancy, you can present evidence about how the condition of the property was better than when you left. Understand though, if you are asking the court to enter judgment against the plaintiffs, i.e. that you think you're entitled to money, you have to file a notice of claim that's called a counterclaim that needs to be filed before the hearing date. If you don't make any claim, you don't have to file anything. You can just present evidence saying, we don't think we should owe anything because this is the work that we completed. But if you are specifically asking me to enter judgment, you have to file a notice of claim, which is a counterclaim.
Okay.
The damages again will be March 18th, 2024 at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So we have 2 dates. The immediate possession date, February 12th, 2024 at noon, and the damages for March 18th, 2024 at 10.
So on that March, that's when I bring the receipt for like all the wire, copper wire that I had to put in the house and the plumbing that proved that I bettered the house for living, because there was no electric. They was running off drop cords and stuff in there, and I had electricity come in and run electric.
If that is some evidence that you'd like to present, then you can bring it in that day.
Okay.
But I remind you, if you are going to be asking for an amount of judgment, you have to file a counterclaim.
No,
Well, we're not
I don't want to ask for no judgment. I just want to prove that I did
We
something.
did that.
But it was just a drop cord. You know?
Because there was a lot of damages
If the plaintiffs
before
are
we
not
moved in.
asking for judgment, if they come in and say, we don't want anything, and you say, that's great, we'll walk away.
Yeah, we walk away.
We don't need to hear any evidence.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But you better be prepared so that if they are asking for something, then
I got
you can come in and
myself.
say, well, hey, this is what the condition is that I showed the property.
Okay,
So,
I understand.
My question, you're saying compared to when they was moving in, I think it should be compared to when they first started paying rent, like what he was saying. The 2 or 3 months, he might have put wiring and stuff in there, but he wasn't paying no rent.
He didn't pay rent for those months.
And
Yeah, but it cost us money to put the stuff in
hold
there.
on. In theory, I understand what you're saying. And I agree that if there was an agreement at a certain time to improve the property, then that improvement was done. And then there was a new agreement. Now, in this case, I understand there's a lot of verbal back and forth,
Yeah.
but determining when those agreements were in place is something the court's going to need to do. But I understand what you're saying, and I can understand the theory to say, wait a minute, they moved in with this original agreement on this day and time. The condition of the property was such that they started paying rent. And so then moving forward, that's when the rent was due. Now, if you recall back earlier, I asked you, when was that date? And the answer was, I don't know, 2020, 2021.
I mean, have to look.
Okay. And so
We might have had
We probably
a
pretty much
my
know
point in
that.
saying that is nail that down.
We'll come up with it.
because that would be relevant. And at that hearing, if the answer is, I don't know, it was sometime 3 years ago, and they're saying it was 2021 at this day and time, that's a certain date that I cannot act on. So do your best to nail down your records is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, we've got it.
You can get the record too from like electric company board.
If you feel as though that's necessary. Now, final note here. If there's an agreement of the parties as to the fact that there's going to be no damages, meaning they're not asking for any damages, you're not asking for anything, you can write that down and simply submit that to the court, and then you don't have to come back on March 18th.
Okay.
So I encourage you to keep communicating about any sort of damages. If both of you agree that there's no damages due and then they're not going to be asking for any and you don't want any, you can just file a document that says there's no need for the damages here.
Okay, so after February 12th, they have completely moved out.
Yes.
And they cannot come back.
Correct.
Then we can look at the property and figure out if we feel there's damages.
Correct.
Then we have judgment.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Will the electric be on until then?
Well, our
As
electric
far
was
as
shut off the
hold on.
first.
preserving the
Hold on.
house?
Whose name is the electric in?
Mine.
Okay.
It's due for disconnect the first Wednesday of February. So
That
I
would
think
be
it's
the
like
7th.
7th, yeah.
The 7th.
It'll be disconnected that day.
There's heat in there. We got electric heaters going on in there. We ain't letting you water.
If you are letting the electric lapse, I strongly encourage you to surrender possession of the property back to plaintiffs that day.
I'll be out.
Or extend that date by a certain time frame.
Yeah, to the 12th. At least leave the utilities on for the 12th.
Right.
We'll be out.
And then you need to transfer the utilities, or they need to pick up the utilities again.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to make sure we get it transferred so it ain't shut off. And
Yeah, we don't want to.
Contact the power companies and have it transferred. You know that it will be February 12th at noon. Now, as I mentioned, if you shut the electric off and there's damages as a result of that, that's damages that can be collected upon you. So if you don't have
What
electric,
about, I'm sorry, what about, we heat with wood?
Yeah.
Like,
There ain't no heater in the house.
yeah, there's not a heater with, we've heated with wood for the last 3 years.
4 years.
I understand. What I'm saying is if you are vacated from the property and you don't notify the plaintiffs of that, and you don't have electric and there's no heat,
Yeah, if we shut everything off and let the pipes, then we're responsible.
because I've given you a date. If you do that earlier, you need to notify the plaintiffs that you are not heating and not having electric in the house, and therefore they can take possession of it.
Well, we'll probably be out before
Does
that.
that clarify
Yeah.
for Ms. Pittman?
I'm just worried about that happening because all we have is one space heater in there right now because we already took all the rest of them to our new house and all we heat with is wood. So, and are we supposed to like keep the wood burner going so that the pipes don't freeze?
We live in not.
couldn't it be changed to the 10th if that's the shut off?
7th. She said the
Or the
7th.
All
Yeah,
I-
I only need a few days, y'all,
Hold on.
to finish up. That's it.
All I can tell you is this, man. As long as you are in possession of the property, you have the obligation to keep it in a hospitable manner. And if any damages result because you didn't do that, you can have a judgment entered against you for that. Now, if you're worried about it, I think you need to take action. I can't tell you what that action should be. So you
Thanks,
have to
Chris.
take action.
Okay, I have a question.
We'll be out by the 7th.
Okay, they're saying that's the only heat, but when they moved in, there was a gas furnace in the house.
No,
I
there
hope
was
it's
no
still
furnace.
there.
There was
They
no
ain't
furnace
using
there.
it
They're not.
because they ain't paid
There was no
for
furnace
gas.
there.
There's no furnace there, never hooked up.
There's a furnace, there was a furnace there.
Well, maybe it is. And there's there one in the basement, but it's not there.
That may be a damage that you can collect, but that's not what we're here for today.
I never
So
saw
if
furnace.
she's already set up to have it shut off on the 7th,
No, that's our
That's our
disconnect. That's our
disconnect date.
disconnect
Yeah.
date.
Let her finish.
disconnecting it. And we don't want it disconnected. We want to transfer.
We're not gonna pay $100
Right.
electric bill. Like, why would we pay $100?
I understand, but you've asked for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you've notified me that you're planning on shutting the utilities off
I ain't
in the
shut-
middle of that 2 weeks.
It's just our disconnect. date.
Disconnect.
Like,
The 7th.
telling us to get the date. Instead of getting it.
Or vacate earlier.
Okay, well, we can be out by, we can be out by. I just had 2 weeks now because like
I understand.
the wet weather, but I'm almost.
All I will tell you again is that any damages that result from the property because it was not kept in a hospitable way while you were in possession could be collected upon you.
Okay.
Now, if there's a date that's earlier that you move out and that you want to shut the electric off, you can do that, but you have to notify the plaintiffs that you're doing that.
Okay.
So if on February 7th, you send them a message or notify them and say, we've moved out, the electric's off, they then take possession on the 7th. They're responsible for getting the electric in their name. They're responsible for heating the home. You're no longer liable.
Okay.
Does that clarify for you?
Yes.
We'll have it all out before the 2 weeks. Gone. It only takes you a couple more days, man. I just
wanted to say 2 weeks.
Yeah,
but
just to
wanted
be
to make
safe.
sure We got it all done.
But
All right. Now,
hoping
other
it- hoping
questions?
It dries up.
Other questions from the plaintiff?
So February 7th, we need to check and make sure we got heat on the house.
I can't tell you that, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
Now,
All right,
for
We'll
both,
keep in contact
Yeah.
with you guys. We're almost out. To be honest, come look at it, we're almost out. I ain't cleaned it up, but I got a
Understood.
few things. That's it.
for
I've
both
been working
sides.
by myself doing
For
it,
both
you know.
sides. I would encourage both of you, if you have questions such as you've asked me, to seek the assistance of an attorney.
Okay.
You have my orders. My orders are going to be that they're put in possession on February 12th at noon. That's when you have the time until you need to be out. If you vacate early, you can surrender early to them. You have to do that, some sort of notice to them.
Okay.
Turning in the key is always notice to them. Additionally, everyone needs to be back here on March 18th to adjudicate this issue of damages. And if you have questions about what damages you can collect, how you prove your case, what witnesses to call, etc., speak with an attorney. I can't answer those questions for you. So you come on the 18th and you say, tell me how I should present my case. That's what a lawyer gets paid to do.
That's why they make the big
Okay?
money.
I can't do that. I sit neutrally here. Not for the plaintiff, not for the defense.
okay.
Now, any questions over that? Mr. Dixon,
I'll have it all out before the 7th.
I appreciate that.
I will.
Ms. Pittman, any questions?
I will. I will work.
Sir, any questions?
One man can't do
No,
much.
we're not worried about
Okay.
it not getting out, but it's the possession part. That's, if they get everything out, it looks like to me they should just surrender.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When I get all my stuff out of there, I'll surrender to you. It might be 2 days, might be 3 days. I'm just asking for 2 weeks, Your Honor.
Okay, well, that's all I'm asking for. I mean, that way there
That's all I'm
won't be no problem with any damages. We'll go down and we'll put wood in it to keep heat in it.
Okay.
But we got to be able to get in there to do
Well, the
it.
door don't even have a lock. Your
The
Honor.
door's
The
open.
door's never locked. I don't lock my.
We'll sort that out at a later time. But I understand
welcome
the question.
along.
We've addressed your issue that you'd like to raise. I've clearly advised them of what their obligations are. I understand you have some uncertainty as you sit there, sir, but I can't predict the future. I don't have a magic wand. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what's going to happen in 5 days, a week, 2 weeks. It's just best to listen to the defendants on their notice, check in with them to see if they're out. Don't harass them, but check in to see if they're out. And then as soon as they say, I'm no longer residing there, you take possession of the
They
property.
can tell it's empty now, though. They can tell. I know they drove by. It's empty.
I understand that, but
We are terribly sorry about the yard. It was a total accident.
I was
I'm
buried.
sorry.
But
I got stuck.
whether
and
they
he got
can
stuck.
tell that or not is different than formal notice.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you don't say a word to them and you let the electric lapse and you don't heat the home and there are damages, that's going to be collected upon you. So don't just sit there and say they'll be able to tell. Notify them formally.
Oh, yeah. No, I was just saying they can tell that we're moving.
I've been fairly patient here with my time.
Yeah.
But I
Like a
encourage
saint.
all the parties first come here organized, ready to go.
Okay.
Have the testimony that you'd like to present about the order of things for damages. Have any response at that damages hearing. Okay?
I was just here because I needed a couple more days. Man.
And I appreciate that. We've gotten to that point, February 12th, 2024 at noon.
Okay.
free to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm sorry for all that. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Thank you.
Y'all have more.
You too.
I left this part in because, the quiet now is so lovely. But he's still asking questions about the electricity to the judge. The judge muted it, I think he's right, because the other guy said, that their disconnect date was, I can't remember, the 6th, and they're not going to be out until the 14th. He said, don't worry about it. We have electric space heaters all over the place. So and the wife was like, no, that's not when the electricity's being turned off. That's our disconnect date. So I don't think either of them understand how the electric company works and how electricity works and how heating works and how electric heaters work. I did make a joke in there that only a few of you would get. And just so you know, I love everybody who got the joke. In the middle, the judge is telling him to write down notes on what he's thinking. And I said, and if you have kids. And if anybody understood that joke, I love you. All right, let's go to a 19-year-old. So she's not a minor. So I'm going to show her.
People using drugs, I understand that. The new environment's always good. But I don't know how she would respond to that.
No further questions. Redirect state?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Any further evidence, state?
No further evidence, Your Honor, thank you.
What's your request, Mr. Caprell?
Your Honor, yes. I think really it's just my client is 19 years old. She's a teenager. She lost her mother 2 years ago. And I understand the whole argument. She has very minimal criminal history. I myself have been through so many cases where I was able to get people put back on probation with a lot more severe issues than what Ms. Lowe's dealing with. Her issues are anger management and bad environment. Unless jail offers some anger management course, I don't see how we're solving anything here. There's a chance, and if she fails, well, she'll be right back here. Let's give her a chance. She's 19 years old.
State.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm reminded of an old saying that Judge Milligan in circuit court used to bandy about, which was probation is like a bridge. You need both sides to participate to make the bridge work. I agree with defense counsel that Ms. Lowe is a young lady, doesn't have much criminal history, but at the end of the day, I don't necessarily believe that bad environment is really what the issue was. The issue was that Ms. Lowe wasn't showing up. She wasn't trying to curb her substance use, and she wasn't engaging in treatment. Quite frankly, I think the environment that Ms. Lowe will find herself in if she does relocate to Lafayette is going to be extraordinarily similar to the environment here in Crawfordsville. Crawfordsville has college students. Crawfordsville has a rehabilitation society, a network to get involved with if you want to do it. But I think the biggest issue here is that Ms. Lowe demonstrated over the period of time that she was on probation that there was no desire to really get involved in recovery, to get involved with treatment, with classes, with anything to try to better her life. And quite frankly, at this point in time, the testimony has been the support system that I had in place when I was not doing well on probation is the exact same as it looks today. My only plan is that I hope to get out and I have a period of time on sobriety. There's no additional resources that have been gained. There's no testimony as to I've applied to this treatment program. I've applied to this treatment program. I've sought out and tried to utilize the time that I've been in custody to better my situation. It's just, I hope I get out. And quite frankly, that's not a good foundation to try to build upon when the last attempt at probation was as it was for Ms. Lowe. So the state would respectfully request that the court adopt the probation officer's recommendation that her probation be terminated, that she serve an executed portion that she agreed to. Thank you, Your Honor.
May I say,
Go ahead.
Your Honor, Mr. Prosecutor, I think is relying on these programs changing people. If she was to attend this substance abuse program, that all of a sudden watching some videos would give her the tools or whatever, going into meetings 3 times a week would get her off of that. That's not how a 19-year-old learns. And I just don't think this whole substance abuse assessments and classes is what she needs. She just needs positive people around her. And I respectfully disagree the weight that Mr. Prosecutor places on these programs.
Your Honor, if I may.
Did you see his face? I was shocked when that guy just said that. She has a problem with substances. And her defender just sat there and told everybody that the treatment is useless. Why would you put a 19-year-old through treatment? And this guy's face just like, now he responds.
But Your Honor, I would note for the court the nationwide movement towards evidence-based treatment, towards evidence-based problem-solving courts. And I believe that movement, along with the successes that that's had compared to just surrounding yourself with good people, is I think, proven itself. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Of course, look at the totality here, where probation was not particularly successful. I mean, there was a significant amount of missing of appointments, continued to use substances, and the court also sees him as low as a young person, and frankly, barely an adult. And that has to be taken into consideration. I think at this point, probation is not really an option because, though Ms. Cockrell, you may note that programming is not the answer. There has to be some answer. Probation is going to be put in place to help this person, then there has to be something that person can do to be helped. And simply changing all of the people in her life is not particularly doable or something probation can do.
Your Honor,
but no, I'm just going to issue the order now. What I will find is that the entire suspended sentence should not be revoked. I think that putting as low in incarceration for that period of time would not serve any good for society or herself. What I am going to do is I'm going to revoke 120 days of that suspended sentence. That's 60 actual. I'm going to show that you have 46 days toward that. So you have 2 weeks left. In that time, after that, I'm going to show that probation has been terminated unsuccessfully. And at that point, you get to decide what you're doing. You're still going to have the other pending cause. We're going to set that for a pre-trial conference March 14th at 9:30 a.m. So once you're released, just make sure you're back March 14th at 9:30 and keep in touch with Mr. Cockrella. But in that sense, you're just going to serve those next 2 weeks, and then it's really on you to decide if you want to right this ship or you're going to keep going down this path and things don't get better from there. Yep. So good luck, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Officer Payne.
That was crazy. What he said was crazy, and I love that the judge just shut him up. Although I'm wondering what the heck he was about to say next. But yeah, yes, there you go. Michelle said it, but she looks good in orange, Your Honor. Yeah, that would be a good defense. The defense attorney, the prosecutor replied, but he was so disgusted that he just said, "Science says it works," and then turned his head. It was done. Oh my. Okay. We have one more. We're going to go back to O'Donnell. It's not crazy. There's no screaming and yelling. It's just O'Donnell just telling things like it is. And that's why we love him.
Roll.
And again, so at the very beginning, you can hear him talking, but he's not in the courtroom. It's their feed. Their feed had a little glitch at the beginning, and then it's fine.
Final hearing, Mr. Tika.
Good morning, Your Honor. I've had an opportunity to discuss this matter with Mr. Fagenbaum. I anticipate that he's going to waive his final hearing, accept responsibility for his misconduct here. He'd like to resolve the PV in each case today.
All right, and the PV on each case is the possession of meth on November 27, admitted use of meth on December 11,
and fake urine on December 11. Mr. Fagenbaum, you understand those charges?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, what would you like to do?
I accept responsibility for those.
All right, so you're pleading guilty?
Plead guilty, yes.
All right, I'll accept your guilty plea and find you guilty. So what's your situation here?
Well, currently right now, I'm still in the midst of looking for a job. This last year has been extremely difficult for me. My girlfriend almost passed away in the summer from a liver failure. My mom had a heart attack in October, I'm sorry. And I've had multiple job opportunities with big companies such as the VA, UH Hospital, jobs that are in my career field that I've been offered the position, but once my background came back, the offer was rescinded. Obviously, until I get those issues resolved and expunged later on, it's going to be difficult to get back into my career field. I'm a clinical engineer by trade, and so this year I've been kind of just trying to shoot and get back into that field, and I've realized recently that obviously until I get these matters resolved, that I'm not going to be able to do that. That's kind of why up till now I really haven't been working, but I do have opportunities out there that my brother works for a logistics company in Toledo, and I've been told that he would be able to give me a full-time position there if I would be able to either transfer my probation there or be allowed to work there and still come back. That's an opportunity that I would be willing to take. Up to this point, I've been kind of trying to stay in my field just because obviously the pay difference. I have a 6-year-old daughter. I have child support that I pay, and so other responsibilities that I felt like would be easier to take care of with a little bit better paying job. But at this point, I'm obviously willing to take a little bit of a pay cut just to start to be working again, to be back working, and to kind of I guess have a little bit more structure in my life.
So what's the point of probation right now?
To help maintain the structure, to help keep me obviously from using drugs.
All right, but that hasn't worked, and you've indicated that you don't need any treatment anymore. I mean, you've been through jail treatment program, right?
Correct.
NeoCap, right?
Correct.
Concord Pines, Lake House?
Lake House, that's correct.
And so, but it hasn't worked, right?
It has, but also at the same time, I think my biggest problem was just obviously having the time and some of the distractions, some of the people that I know, and I guess just kind of the geographical area. Still knowing people that deal with that. I think that was a lot of my problem. I did do
well. You may say it's geographic. I mean, I had somebody in there yesterday telling me that they wanted to move from Lake County to Cuyahoga County so they wouldn't use drugs. And I kind of observed that there's drugs in Cuyahoga County. There's drugs in Toledo. There's drugs in South Carolina.
I agree with that.
So the question is whether what you've gone through, what you've been put through as terms of probation meant anything or resulted in anything. Because as I understand it, you've indicated, before I came out here, we talked in chambers, and Mr. Fatika indicated that you didn't want any more treatment.
It's not that I was against the treatment. I just thought there would be what would be more beneficial to me would be the structure of working, especially a full-time job, and having that kind of responsibility. I never necessarily said that I was against the treatment. I just thought that since I had completed, I've been doing my meetings.
So what were the circumstances of the meth use in November and then in December?
It was, like I said, it was a culmination of events. My mom having a heart attack really kind of took a toll on me. But I think just distressed of these constant jobs failures coming through, or I shouldn't say failures, but job offers being rescinded, the stress from that, and then obviously the holidays coming around. It started to barrel down on me a little bit.
So how are you, when you went through treatment, I'm sure they talked to you about different stressors in your life and how you react to it, so. If you know all this stuff and you don't utilize it, what's the point of it?
Oh, I agree. I think part of the problem too, though, is I don't really have much of a support network here in Cleveland, other than my sponsor and the people I go to meetings with.
What are you doing in Cleveland if everybody else lives somewhere else?
I moved back here when I got a job out of college in 2012, and then after that I've worked with like the Cleveland Clinic, New Age Hospital. It's where my daughter's at, and it's where I've worked. So it's other than that, I mean, I don't really have a big tie to Cleveland, but I just haven't. I guess I haven't really left because of my daughter.
Okay, so if you move to Toledo or South Carolina, then how are you going to see your daughter?
I mean, I would have to do the visitation. With my daughter, I do see her often, and I talk to her almost every day when I'm out here. But it's going to be a process to get custody back of her. It's obviously going to take showing stability, not only with employment, but obviously with any drug use or anything of that nature. And so I understand that that's going to be a little bit of a process, but before I'm able to work on that, I have to be able to gain those things myself. But I do see her often. It's not as often as I would like, but I would still have to do planned visitation or things along that nature.
Okay, so where did the meth come from in November?
From somebody that I know that lives over in East. My friend John.
John who?
Baker.
Okay.
Snitches get
What about in
stitches.
December?
The same.
So why are you hanging around John Baker? When did you get out of Lake House?
What did I get out of
When
that?
did you get out of Lake House?
Oh, I got out March 31st.
Okay. And so why are you hanging around Baker after you do jail treatment, NeoCap, Lake House? How long were you tied up in jail till you got out of Lake House?
Oh, pretty much since February of 2022 until March.
So you're grabbed up for 13 months. So then why are you going back and seeing a guy, John Baker?
Honestly, it wasn't something that I planned. I kind of ran into him, so to say.
Where?
Just around the neighborhood. His mom lives like maybe 5 streets away from where I stay.
Okay. How did you just run into him?
So on Primrose Avenue, right there, there's a corner store. That's where I ran into him, and we talked for a little bit, and I got his phone. I didn't have his phone number still. But
why did you get his phone number?
Honestly, not only because of drugs. That wasn't my main. He's been a friend of mine for years.
I know, but why don't you get new friends? Because if you have friends who are drug addicts, how long have you been using drugs altogether? Including pot, because pot's a drug.
Yeah, on and off for probably the last, I'd say, 8 years.
Okay.
Or so.
When did you go beyond pot and start with all the other crap?
Right around 2018. Right around.
Why?
Honestly, I really don't. Probably for the most part, the people that I was hanging around.
People like Baker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So after you get tied up for 13 months, why did you go back and hang around Baker? Seems to me and I would imagine November wasn't the first time you used drugs since you've been out, right?
To be completely honest, I haven't used drugs up to that point. I've been doing good with my meetings. I've been doing good with my sponsor. And really up to that point, I mean, I've been, other than the job aspect, I've been doing pretty well. I don't know if maybe I just felt like, I'm trying, I'm not really sure. I didn't necessarily set out to go get high and to try to throw all this away. I really didn't.
Okay.
I
So,
think,
so what did you learn about, from treatment, about running into guys who are drug addicts?
just steer away from them.
So why didn't you?
I didn't because as I've said before, I don't really have a big network here in Cleveland.
But one of the things that you learned, I'm sure, through this treatment, is you got to change who you hang around with.
I completely understand, and for the most part, I really have. This whole year, I haven't done a whole lot. I haven't even really seen my girlfriend that much. As I stated in the summer, she almost died from a liver failure, and she's been staying over at her grandfather's house. And so even her, I guess I don't.
What caused her liver failure?
So she had taken a few too many Tylenol, and it had basically set her level.
What, like a couple bottles worth? Or
No. She had taken about 25 of them. She had a tooth issue and mental health issues. I'm sorry.
So Miss Crook, he's been on probation to you since he's been out of Lake?
He came to me at the end of June.
Okay, so how would you assess his performance on probation? Up until the positive test for meth.
I mean, he completed after we've had conversations about work that he only wanted to look for certain work that he wanted to do instead of getting a full-time job and having something positive take up the majority of his time. So he has not had a full-time job since I have had him. Since he transferred on to me because he was in the process of switching jobs and then that job was rescinded.
When was that job rescinded?
I've had 6 jobs rescinded.
So you know you're going to run into this problem with your desired line of work, right?
Yeah, correct.
6 times you found that out. So why didn't you get something else in the meantime?
I guess I was really hoping in the back of my mind that sooner or later one of these would bite. It's a profession that I've been in now for going on 12 years.
Explain to me what you do.
So I'm a clinical engineer. I work in a hospital. I work on medical equipment.
What does that mean? How do you work on medical?
I do installations. I do service, preventative maintenance, the repairs, everything from an infusion pump to X-ray machines. It's part of the clinical engineering aspect of a hospital and whatnot.
Okay. And they probably don't want people who are addicted to drugs in the hospital.
That's
right?
correct.
Okay, so you found that out 6 times.
That's correct.
So why didn't you get something else? Instead of wishing that one of these was going to pop, why didn't you get something else in the meantime to support yourself and to utilize some dead time during the day?
So in the meantime, I have been doing a little on and off. A guy that I know in Cleveland, he owns a bunch of properties, and I've done a little bit of electrical work for him. It hasn't been anything steady. It's been enough that it allows me to kind of pay some of my bills.
How do you support yourself?
A lot of financial help from my father.
Okay. And why did you bring in the fake urine in December?
I did that because I was worried. Because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to pass the drug test. And I didn't want to risk getting in trouble or in that.
Why didn't you call her and say, look, I got a problem? Why don't you call her in November and say, I got a problem. I ran into an old friend of mine I hadn't used for 8 months, and I used some meth to get some help from her.
I didn't do that because I was scared, I'll be honest. I was scared. I was afraid of how she would react and the consequences of it. And I was just.
How did you know how she would react?
I guess I didn't. I just from our meetings and from our time, I just didn't feel like she would react positively, or I felt like it would be.
Depends on your definition of positive, right? Positive to me would be to talk to somebody who's in a position to try to lend some help to you. Now that help may have negative consequences, but overall it's going to but since you're playing with this meth, it just kind of eats your brain away. What's xylazine?
Sorry?
What is xylazine?
I
don't know?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you ever use fentanyl?
No, sir.
Why meth?
I at the time, that was what, years ago, that was what somebody that we knew had, and
what does meth do for you?
It's a stimulant.
So what does it do for you?
I mean, for me, it makes me focus more. It gives me energy.
Why don't you take some of those energy drinks or protein drinks or something? Do you know what's in meth?
Not completely sure, no.
So you've been hanging around hospitals since you got out of college. And there's a lot of drugs in hospitals. And the drugs are used and prescribed for specific purposes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And they have different effects on different people, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
You've heard of this opioid crisis, right?
Yes.
It's been going on since decade and a half, where it got bad. You heard of fentanyl before, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's fentanyl?
I'm not exactly sure.
What's the effect of fentanyl, I guess?
I know it's like heroin, or it's like an opioid. I know it. In my opinion, I feel like it slows people down, and
what it does is it kills people.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So in this country alone, last year it killed 70,000 people. Fentanyl. You don't know what it is. Why don't you take it?
To be honest, I've never been interested in that. I watched my best friend die from that.
Okay.
And it's just that heroin. That's just never ever been anything that I've been interested in even being around.
Okay. But you are interested in being around meth, or you have been for several years. But you don't know what's in meth.
No, you're not.
Do you get the meth that comes from Mexico, or do you get the meth that comes from people's 2-liter bottles that they make themselves?
I'm not really sure.
You don't know. So when they make the 2-liter bottles themselves, you don't know what the ingredients are, right?
That's correct.
That's correct. Drano. You ever drink any Drano?
No, you're not.
How do you know you haven't? If you've taken meth. How about lithium batteries? You ever ingest that?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. You're not sure. Okay. And you don't know if you've ingested any xylazine back in December or November. It is, right?
That's correct.
Right. So why is somebody? Where did you go to college?
Owens Community College in Toledo.
Okay. And what degree did you get?
I got an associate's in biomedical electronics.
Okay. So you must be an intelligent person, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So why does this intelligent person ingest stuff for the last at least half dozen years or more? Why do you ingest something that you have no idea what's in it?
I'm not really sure. I guess I like the effects of it. And I mean, until now, I've been willing to look past what the ingredients may be just for the desired effects.
Did you look past it, or did you not even think about it?
I didn't even really think about it, I'd say.
And how many times have you gotten in trouble since you started using that?
2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times?
Well, this time, these 2 possessions.
This time twice, right?
Correct.
Because these are 2 different occasions, right?
Correct.
Okay. What else?
I had an incident in Westlake.
What happened in Westlake?
I got a possession charge. This is in 2020.
Okay.
And
now, okay, go ahead.
That's the.
I don't see anything in Westlake.
It was Rocky River.
Okay. I see a Shaker Heights.
Yeah, Shaker Heights. That wasn't drug.
What was that?
That was at a storage unit that I had. I had taken a TV. Somebody had sat outside of a locker, but it wasn't in. It was basically just sitting there. They were moving stuff in, and we had taken the TV.
Why?
I guess no real reason. Just not really sure what it. I mean, if it was, I guess no real reason. Just to take it.
What were you going to do with it?
We were going to use it.
Where?
At our apartment.
What kind of TV?
A small flat screen TV.
Okay. What made you think that you had a right to take that property?
I wasn't thinking. It wasn't right to do it.
I know, but what? So you did it anyway.
That's correct.
Okay. What about the attempted theft in North Olmsted back in 19?
In 2000, yeah, that was when we had got a hotel room using my girlfriend's, one of her family members' credit cards. They had allowed her to use it to get a hotel room in the past, and we used it to get another hotel room without their permission.
Were you using drugs at that time?
No, sir.
No?
No, Your Honor.
So you did that having full control of your faculties?
That's correct.
What about the petty theft a month later in Cleveland?
That was a Giant Eagle. Actually, I had taken a bag of chips and a pop from there.
Why?
Just not having any money.
Why didn't you have any money?
I wasn't working.
Why not?
I guess there really wasn't any reason. My job ended at UH the previous year, and I just hadn't found a job. I didn't start working until June of 2019.
Well, there was a warrant issued in Cleveland Muni in 21.
That was for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ever show up?
I did. I took care of that.
Do you ever know what happened with that, Miss Crook? Date of offense, apparently 6/17/19, 4/16/21 warrant issued for failure to appear.
I do not know what happened with that.
What was the attempted drug possession in Westlake?
Yeah, that was, we were at a hotel, and my girlfriend was outside and trying to burn some magazines for some reason, and the cops had drove down, and they saw her doing this, and so when they came and stopped her, I went outside and talked to them too, and we had a small bag of meth on us.
So is this the girlfriend with the liver failure?
Correct.
So it's not the Tylenol that's getting her?
It was the Tylenol that caused it, but the liver issue. But she has, as I've explained before, she has mental health issues that
Is this the one with the 6-year-old?
Correct.
Okay. Where does your 6-year-old go to school?
She goes to school in Rocky River. She lives with my girlfriend's mother.
Okay. What the hell's going on with you? How old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay. You don't seem very responsible.
These last few years have been a little hard for me.
Okay, not the last few years, the last half dozen years. I mean, of course, you start in 08 is your first marijuana charge in South Carolina. So what were you doing between 08 and the beginning of 16? Where were you?
From 09 to 2012, I was in Toledo going to college.
Okay.
And then I graduated, and I got a job here in Cleveland, and I was working from 2015 or 2012 to 2015 was Fresenius Medical Care. And then when I left them when I took a position with the Cleveland Clinic in 2016.
Okay. Till when?
To the end of 2017.
Okay. Why'd you leave there?
I left the Cleveland Clinic because we had a baby. My girlfriend had her mental health issues were starting to kind of become a little bit prevalent. I had taken some time off there. My position was only guaranteed for 30 days, and I had ended up taking about 3 months off. And so I had taken a little bit of time off, and then shortly.
Why did you take 3 months off when your job was going to be eliminated after 30 days?
I was trying to help with her because she had actually there was an incident where she got pink slipped and was sent to and it went to a behavioral center. And that's
Wait a minute, who's the child live with now?
Her mother.
Was her mother not around in that time frame?
Her mother was, yeah, but we still had custody of her.
Okay.
And
does her mother have custody now?
Yes, temporary custody, yes.
How long has that been going
on? Since 2019.
Okay, so you lose your job in 19 because you took 3 months off, then what?
It was 2018, or 17 when I took the time off. And then in 2018, I took a job with UH Hospital. It was an interim position, and that lasted until September of that same year. And then when that position ended, we kind of threw around the idea of moving possibly down south to my mom's area. And over the course of a couple months, kind of threw that idea around. We went down there and then came back up. And then that was when I took a position in June of 2019 with a company called Inmate. And they had actually sent me out to Las Vegas for 3 months for another interim position.
And then what?
Then I came back to Cleveland at the end of 2019, looked for new housing, tried to find a new job, and then the beginning of 2020, that's when I took a position with Agility Health. And they were out of Brecksville.
And then how long did you work there?
I worked there until July of 2021, and I was let go because of the
Okay, so your problem with drugs isn't the money in your hands with nothing to do. Your problem with drugs is you like to take drugs because you were working. I presume when you were working that your time was tied up with working, but you were using drugs anyway. So this nonsense about you using meth here because you had all this time on your hands and these people around isn't true because you were using it when you were working. So I don't know what to make of you. You don't want to do treatment because you don't think you need treatment. You get the treatment anyway, which was a lot of treatment to try to open your eyes, and it doesn't work because you don't want it to work. You don't even bother to figure out after you complete your treatment. And how long were you in aftercare?
The aftercare was, I think it was 2 months or so. I don't remember. Right
How long was aftercare, Jamie?
Aftercare is 3 months, Your Honor.
And so he was done what, in June?
Yes.
Okay, so during this entire, so now we're not 13 months, we're more like 16 months of total stuff, right? Who was your sponsor?
A guy named Nate Trampty.
Okay. How often did you talk to him?
I talked to him every week.
Did you tell him you were using meth in November?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Because I didn't intend on using it.
Okay.
For
when you ran into this goofball, Baker, did you immediately then call your sponsor and say, hey, I think I got a problem here because I saw this guy Baker that I've been using drugs with for years. What should I do?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't contact him.
You don't want to. So during this 16-month time frame, it never dawned on you. You never thought. You never really cared about trying to figure out exactly what you were doing. What damage you were doing to your internal organs, taking stuff that you didn't know what it was. Because you just didn't care. The problem is that you're floating around now at 37 years old on a perpetual party because you like the perpetual party. That's the problem. The problem isn't the time on your hands. The problem isn't the guys that you hung around with in the past that you saw again, okay? Because we could pluck you out of Cleveland, stick you in the middle of Nebraska, and it ain't gonna make a difference because of what's between your ears, because you just don't care about this stuff. That's the problem. Anything else you want to tell me? Mr. Fatika, anything further?
Good morning, Your Honor. Yeah, I'd just like to highlight, this is Mr. Fagenbaum's first PV. I'd submit that he has been through treatment. He's made some effort. Obviously, he's relapsed here. We'd ask you to consider all that in fashioning a sentence here.
All right. So it was a first probation violation, but he violated the terms of intervention, right?
That I'm not sure of, Your Honor.
Yeah, 31622 on the 211522 case, and on that same date on the 1040 case, I granted his motion for intervention. And that's when I gave him 89 days in credit for the 44 he'd already done. So he'd been locked up since the beginning of February of 22. Completed JTP. On the 1040 case, also released a NeoCap. Then Lake House. Then aftercare. Well, that was on the termination. That order was on the termination. So I had him do JTP initially. And when he was terminated for intervention on 6/29 of 22, that's when he went to NeoCamp and Lake House. Then aftercare, as he describes to me, was completed in June 23. He's back at it again. So it's clear to me that you don't have any interest in utilizing the tools you need to utilize in order to stop doing what you're doing. Because the reasons you gave to me as to why you're doing it don't ring true because you're doing the same thing the past several years when the circumstances were different. So your desire is to get the hell out of Cleveland and go to Toledo or South Carolina, and eventually you're going to be able to do that. But on each of these cases, I'm going to terminate your community control. I don't think you're amenable anymore to community control. On 1040, I'm going to give you 11 months in prison with credit for 338 days. On 1522, I'm going to give you 11 months in prison, credit for 235 days, and those sentences will be concurrent to one another, and you're going to pay the costs on both of those cases. So you'll do a little bit of time, you'll be released, and then you can go wherever you want to do whatever you want. But my guess is, based on your history and your lack of desire of correcting what the problem is, my guess is you'll go right back to meth. Anything else, Mr. Fatika?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Well, he gave up on him at the end. He's like, okay, here you go. That's it. That's all I can do for you. There's nothing else anybody can do. We'll see you back here again soon, buddy. That judge just tells it like he is. It does. And he did have some lovely cases today where the people just did what they were supposed to do. And, they got jobs. They finished all their everything the probation asked them to do. They were real quick cases, and then they were released, and everything was lovely. And the judge didn't grill them or anything. It was just, well done, and off you go. But then he had a couple of these today too, where it was long, and he keeps asking questions just so that he could slam them down a bit. I mean, there's no right answer. No matter what you say, when this judge asks you a question, there's no right answer. But I don't know. I think maybe some of the people hear the judge. I don't know how much it changes them, but I think some of them hear him because it's embarrassing to sit there and hear this from a judge. So I don't know if it's embarrassing enough to stop addiction, but apparently, programs don't work like the other lawyer said. So why would we do that? Chat is great today. Chat is so funny. It turns out there's no copper in TVs, Your Honor. That right there was amazing. So thank you, chat. That was so good. All right, I think I did enough today. We've been streaming for a while, guys. It feels like it just started and it's been a while. Thank you so much for coming out today. I appreciate it. I hope your day goes well. I hope it was a good start to the day or a finish to the day. I don't know what time it is that you're going to be watching this. But I will see you next time.